Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm coming to you live on a hot evening here in Seattle. I had to break out the tank top today. It's so warm, but I'm back.
Guns.
I'm that, but I tell you what, it's hot. So I had to break out the tank top. Me and the fellas are getting together today. One thing I do know, our heads ain't too hot because we ain't got nothing covered up there, which is why we are welcoming you all to another edition of Bald Headed Logic. Don, Chuck, myself, and today we're going to get together, and I'm sure Coach Troy has some real hot topics for us to talk about and get on. So, Troy, what's up? What we talking about?
Well, we got together and we decided that we were going to start a new segment on this show. So, weekly segment, we're going to have one of you guys' top five. Whether it's going to be this week's top five is going to start with, it's going to be called Chuck's Nickel Package, as he's our resident safety corner on the show. So Chuck's Nickel Package is what we're calling this segment today. And what that is going to entail is the top five athletes of all time and who we think the top five athletes of all time. And that's in any sport, any gender, just the top five athletes of all time. Greg, let's start with you. We'll let Chuck go last, being that is his segment. Greg, why don't we start with you? Who do you have as your top five athletes in the history of sports?
Man, I'm going to have to come off the dome because I haven't really thought about it, but I do believe that there's some great athletes that I really admire throughout history. I think for me, number one will always be Muhammad Ali. To me, he is the epitome of a great athlete because it's not just what he did in the boxing ring. And we know he's one of the most athletic boxers of all time. He wasn't necessarily a power puncher. He wasn't just a slick defensive person, but I think athletically, he is where he stood out above all the other boxers, especially in the heavyweight division. So Muhammad Ali is my greatest or athlete, and not just because of what he did in the ring, but also what he did outside. He was a great person. He stood up for things. He, really, really was a man of integrity, and he was a man who stood on principle. So I'm going to add that into it tonight. But I think his athleticism as a boxer, completely unmatched. I think number two, and this is not in any order, I think Bo Jackson is probably one of the greatest athletes I've ever seen in any sport. And he demonstrated that on the baseball field, on the baseball diamond, on the football field, on the track. I mean, this guy could do just about everything. And now this dude's really into archery and shooting. And he's one of the, a fantastic archery person. But Bo was fast. He was strong. He was agile. Not only did he have the ability to be an all-pro football player, unfortunately career cut short because of the injury, but an all-star baseball player. Some of the catches he made, some of the throws that he made were unreal. There's a throw that he made standing flat-footed from left field to shoot down the base runner.
Harold Reynolds.
Yeah, Harold Reynolds to shoot it down on a bullet that he threw from left field all the way to the home plate to get him out. So I think it goes without question that Bo Jackson. So those are two. Number three, Serena Williams. I mean, you talk about a phenomenal athlete, one of the best, probably the best tennis player of all time, certainly of the modern era. And the thing that she had above all the other people playing is she was a better athlete. She was quicker. She was faster. She was stronger. There's nothing you could do to get the ball around Serena Williams. She either was going to get to it and land a shot, or she was just going to miss because she missed. But Serena Williams is probably one of the greatest athletes that I've ever seen. I got to meet her in person, kind of a quick side story. We were all hanging out one night in Los Angeles on the Sunset Strip real late at night. I can't remember who I was with. It might have been Chuck.
Me. I remember that. I remember that.
And we were sitting at a table, and she came in with some four friends, and they were sitting at a table in the back of Mel's Diner. And so I had to go to the bathroom. So I went back there. And of course, you know me, I ain't shy at all. So I had to pick this up. I didn't shoot my shot because I was with somebody, I think I was married at the time, so I didn't shoot my shot, but I certainly, said hi and made myself known. So shout out to Serena. I saw her in her comeback here recently. Sometimes you just got to know when to hang it up, but
know when to hold them, like Kenny Ryder said.
Right. So love Serena. And then Tiger Woods. I mean, a lot of people don't equate golf with athleticism, But there's a reason Tiger Woods was different from everybody else as a golfer. Tiger Woods could swing faster. Tiger Woods had more velocity. Tiger Woods could do anything on the golf course. Again, this guy probably had his back not broken down, or had he, been able to get away from the baseball bat that his wife was swinging, I think he might have become, surpassed Jack Nicklaus and won more majors than anyone. He had golf in a chokehold. There's a reason why people, especially people like us, started watching golf. It was strictly because of Tiger Woods. So I think Tiger Woods is one of the greatest athletes ever of all time. And people will say what they want. Oh, it's golf and you're not running and jumping, but the mechanics, for those of you who play golf, the mechanics in playing golf takes athleticism. And I think there's a reason why Tiger was so much better than everybody else. I think his athleticism tied to his skills and building that set him apart, because, people like us, who come from our background typically have a little more athleticism, and he put that into golf and become the greatest golfer of all time. So I think that's four. I think my last one would have to be Usain Bolt. The guy generated the fastest 100-meter and 200-meter times in the history of track and field. And that, again, to me, goes back to the athleticism, the fast twitch, the quick twitch, the strength, the agility, all of those things. So for me, somebody like Usain Bolt, you might think he was just a guy who ran straight ahead, but no, it takes athleticism, it takes explosiveness, it takes strength, and all of that to be a great track runner. So for me, those are my five that I look at as the greatest athletes of all time. You can say, well, he wasn't catching and he wasn't jumping and doing all that. All those things, go into becoming a great track guy. So I'm going to go with the greatest sprinter of all time, the greatest female tennis player of all time, the greatest golfer of all time, the greatest boxer of all time, and then just an all-around pure, what you guys think more of in athleticism, with a guy like Bo Jackson.
Well, Don, you're up, man. I guess we can. Tiger Woods, athletic. You went deep on that, man. You went deep on that one.
I know Chuck is waiting, chomping at the mouth, trying to say something about that one.
I don't know how he can prove that what I think and feel is wrong, but that's just what I think and feel and how I equate it. So you're going to come up with many lists where somebody is the best in the history of the world at something, and Tiger Woods is the best in the history of the world, arguably maybe with Jack Nicklaus, but you can't argue that anybody that you might throw out that was a good this, that, or the other is better than somebody who's the best in the world.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give it to you like this. Just like you said, like you put Wilt Chamberlain on that list, we could put Tiger Woods on that same Wilt Chamberlain list. So I'm not gonna argue with that. That part of it, we'll give the Tiger. But I'll comment later. Go ahead, Don.
All right, man. I ain't gonna say nothing, man. Maybe I'll come up with the all-time ping pong player. He had him on the list. But okay. Here's what I got. I agree. I agree with a lot of what Greg was saying. He kind of stole a few of my people that I was going to add in there, but just not to be monotonous and just kind of switch it up. I'm going to add Wilt Chamberlain in my list, because Wilt Chamberlain, this dude was an All-American. Not only was he the best basketball player in the world, but he's probably the best track athlete in the world too. They say he ran the 400 in something like 47 seconds. He high jumped like
That's crazy.
Almost 7 feet. Long jump, well over 25 feet, and ran the hurdles in a great time. He would have been the best decathlete. He threw the shot put like 60 feet or something like that, crazy, in the discus. He would have easily won a decathlon in the Olympics if he wanted to pursue that as well. And that's where I gotta include him on that list as well, because you watch him play basketball, the way he would run the court, the way he would jump, and the way he was just so dominant. I don't think there's a basketball player that can compare with him as far as straight overall athleticism.
Yeah. And I'm not going to argue with you, because you guys know how I feel about Wilt. I don't believe there's a basketball GOAT, but if you want to plate somebody and say you have to say someone's name, I'm going to say Wilt every time because of all the things you said. And I also at least read, Don, whether it's true or not, that Wilt Chamberlain also bench pressed over 500 pounds.
Yeah, he did.
And so
That's
I don't.
incredible with somebody arms that long.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
1,000.
got to see that one.
They said, well,
I go there.
Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of backed it up. He was saying he
Mhm.
was working out with him one time, and he said he couldn't keep up with Wilt Chamberlain. You know, he was like he was trying to lift his weight, and they say Wilt came in and put on 3 more barbells and repped it than what he was
Yeah.
working out with. So he
Wow,
was
that's
freakish, man.
incredible.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at all. You could take any one of my 5 and replace them with Wilt, and the list would be, still to my liking. So, no argument for me at all, because I think Wilt is absolutely one of the greatest athletes that ever walked this earth.
Yeah. Well, I'm just gonna give you my opinion on when I say athletes, and then Chuck can bring it on home. When I think of athletes, I think of the guys that can pick up multiple. Any tool, right? You can give them a football, you can give them a baseball, you can give them a basketball.
But now you're setting the
the
room.
track.
That's what it was.
And so what I'm thinking, and who I have in no particular order, is you guys is right. I had Dave Winfield, who was drafted in 3 major sports into each league. He was drafted into the NBA. He was drafted into the National Football League, and then obviously he was drafted into the Major League Baseball league. And just outstanding. And he would have been a 1st-round draft pick in every league. Just an incredible athlete. It helps that he comes from Minnesota like me, but so I'm a little biased with the hometown guy. But Dave Winfield was just an outstanding athlete. And then, of course, Neon Deion Sanders, being able to play, score a touchdown and get a hit in the same week. We're talking, prime time. Not only did he play 2 sports, he played them both at the same time. And then, I have to second, Greg's Bo Jackson, the same thing, just an outstanding athlete. And then, I know you guys hate when I bring him up, but I was, since you brought up Wilt, I'm going to bring up LeBron. I think LeBron James is one of the greatest athletes of all time. The guy can run a 4.40. He has at 260 pounds, dude got a down there 50-inch vertical, and then they said, and he says that, obviously he could have played football in the NFL. I mean, he was an All-American football player as a junior and decided to give it up for basketball his senior year. So he would have been a Division I. He would have obviously been a professional football player if he wanted to go that route. And then I guess we can if we're going to throw novelty guys, or not really novelty, but guys in there that, that just really epitomized winning. Michael Phelps has to be thrown in there. I mean, the guy won everything in major in the Olympics as far as, every discipline you could think of. Michael Phelps was a gold medalist in. So those are my guys, man. And Chuck, you can bring it on home, but I think we got a lot of guys to choose from. It's kind of hard to pick 5.
Okay, cool. Since we got that, I mean, some of them again, man, like Greg said, it's hard to disagree with a lot of these people because we could go on with this list forever. Somebody else brought up Jim Thorpe, who I'm not putting on my list, but I think deserves an honorable mention. But I'm gonna give you mine. I'll go in no particular order, but Jesse Owens. I think you can't really talk athleticism unless you're talking Jesse Owens and what he did. And here's the thing that I think that people don't really, as athletes, pretty much know that people don't really understand, man. It's hard performing under extreme pressure. That's like the biggest thing, is performing under extreme pressure, man, when you feel like you have the weight of a country on your shoulders and, you going up against the Fuhrer and, what's going to happen. You're representing, the world in a sense in the 1936 Olympics. And so I think Jesse Owens doesn't get the nod that he should. And, he did that. And guess who took his place in the 1940 Olympics? Nobody. Because they didn't have another one. So he didn't get a chance to repeat. You see what I'm saying? So I feel like if they would have had a chance to go back and get that again, he would have been able to do that. My next one is Jackie Robinson. And Jackie Robinson was, a 3-sport guy. He played football, All-American at Pasadena City College, so he could have done it all. At that time, they had black people that had played in the NFL before, but then they had like this little moratorium on them for a while. And then they went back to letting the darkies get out there, but that wasn't the period he was out there. So he probably could have done that too. But Jackie Robinson, he's great. His older brother came in second in 200. Behind Jesse Owens in the Olympics. So, that athleticism ran through their family, and he didn't get a chance to repeat either. but that was Embiid. The other guys, man, are Bo Jackson, of course. That, that's something that I don't think you'll ever see again. Some of the stuff, that he's done, phenomenal stuff. You'll see it in, when a person, an athlete, and it just come out in they everyday actions. Like the dude struck out, got mad, and just broke the bat over his knee like it was a toothpick, so.
Mm-hmm.
But the injuries came up in that's a trip. Again, Deion Sanders, I think there's somebody that could have they said probably one of the hardest things to do in professional sports is hit a baseball, and somebody that could have that technical skill to come hit the baseball, steal bases, come out there, catch punts and take them back.
That's
that's some extreme talent. And then Jim Brown. Jim Brown was, All-American lacrosse player too, so.
Start on the basketball team.
See, and basketball. So, these people are they're phenoms, man. They really, this whole list, man. And, we laugh about it sometimes. We, I was teasing last week, we're going to get the Monstars together. Well, these are the Monstars, this group of people, is basically the Monstars. They're world beaters. Not only that, you bring up Greg had Muhammad Ali on his list, which, man, that dude inside and out, what he did. If you go back and now, since we have access to all these clips and you see these shorts coming up, you see some of his interviews, man, the dude was brilliant. And the things he stood up for, man, at a time when, he gave it all away. He gave it all away, threw away the gold medal, also threw away, in essence, the world championship is a heavyweight championship.
He set out 4 years. That would have been the best prime years of his career.
Yeah.
The prime of his life. Looking up this other stuff, man, I want to bring up somebody who's infamous. Is the dude that came in third in the 100 is a dude named Tynus Osendart.
What year?
Tynus Osendart in 1936. He came in third in the 100 to Jesse Owens and Metcalf, right? He came in third, but the dude was from the Netherlands. And after that, he ended up joining the Nazi party. And after the war, they put him in jail for a little bit, So that's like a crazy, infamous story. My next one, though, is just for a little fun. I'm going to poke at this is, hey, man, the all-time trans athlete, Caitlyn Jenner. He did it the right way. If you're going to do it, you got to do it like that. So, what that dude did, beat all the men, then he came back and did what he needed to do. So you can't do it the other way, though. Can't do it the other way. You can't flip the script and then try to join the girls. You ain't gonna get no props like that. So that's my group right there, man. I could poke fun. I can't argue. Ain't no way you could argue. We could find a way to argue it now. Don't get me wrong. Can't argue Tiger Woods. I'll poke fun at it, but the dude, I got to give it up. If you want to say best of the best, then, when Greg brought up that point, I had to kind of concede that a little bit. But as far as pure athleticism, I wouldn't have him on there. But, in comparison, what do y'all think? Let's bring up this controversy in a minute. Not in a minute, but right now, how about having a woman on there? Should a woman be on there? Because honestly, athletically, they not the best athletes. So,
I think
how do we put that in there? How does that fit?
Well, I think that can be argued because, I did put a woman, unlike any of you, on my list because I think Serena Williams is probably a better athlete, maybe than all of us on this call right now. We might be bigger than her or stronger than her or faster than her per se. But when you look at, all things compared to the amount of muscle she might have or, the amount of size she may have, I think her utilization of what she has might be better than all of us. None of us could serve a tennis ball, which takes velocity and force and timing and all that as fast as her. None of us could probably get to the baseline in a way that she got to the baseline to return it with the same power. So I think, athleticism, if you break it down in its purest form, I think women can be as athletic as men in their own right, in their own world. And there's things they can do.
Yeah. I disagree with that, man. I don't think
too. But I think she's a better athlete than you, Troy. Right now, You guys go out there,
I
run
agree.
faster than you,
I agree with
run higher
Greg.
than you, get a ball
100%.
faster than you.
I'm talking about other professional athletes. I'm not talking about
Yeah.
me. She
No,
was a better athlete than any one of you three. There's no, I saw each one of you three in your prime, and that's not a comparison, Greg. She wasn't.
She was a better tennis player than us in our prime, and would have
She's a
always
better
been,
tennis
so it don't
player.
matter.
But I
Better.
mean, like she'll say it herself, like up against the men, she not even gonna be close.
Yeah.
And she'll
Well,
say that. She
But
admits that.
that's what that one dude said about Billie Jean King, and she whooped his ass.
Man,
You
that
know?
was a
Yeah,
that was
Don't
an old
matter.
comedian.
matter.
That was a
Bobby Riggs-
dude. That was, I mean,
Bobby
that was a
Riggs
guy off the street.
no, Bobby
That
Riggs
was
was
a
a
guy. He
professional.
wasn't even an athlete.
He was a professional tennis player, dude. What are you
He-
talking
no.
about?
No, he was not. No, he
You
was
might
not.
need to
Look
go
it up.
check the
He was
history,
not
Chuck.
a professional tennis
No,
player,
yes, he
dude.
was.
No, he
He
was
was
not.
retired.
No, he wasn't. He
was
was just
not
a
a
guy off the
professional
street.
He
Billie
was.
Jean-
Greg. I mean, I agree with you, Greg, but he was a bum.
Bobby,
He was just some bum off the street. He was just talking. He was just running
I
his mouth.
understand what you're saying in the own when it comes to what you comparing it.
That was my
Relatively speaking, sort of. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. You have to give Serena her due, and as an athlete in her realm, and she was so dominant, right?
Bobby Riggs was an American tennis player from 1939. He was a performer.
no, he
former-
wasn't. Because Chuck said he wasn't. So he wasn't.
He was a bum. He was from
He was a
1939.
tennis player, Chuck.
He was as
a
old, man.
professional
He was
tennis
old.
player.
They
He
played.
wasn't that old. He was what, in his 40s? You guys acting like the dude was dead. He might have been in his 50s at the most, but he was not an old dead
He
dude.
was definitely at least in his 50s.
Maybe. You gotta go back. I don't just because y'all say it again, y'all be wrong all the time. So I don't want
check
to hear
that.
that.
Of September 1973, female tennis player Billie Jean King beat Bobby Riggs, a former world #1 men's player, in the Battle of the Sexes. Bobby Riggs was a leading tennis player in the 1940s, and by the time he retired in 1951 had won 6 Grand Slam titles. Following his retirement, he became a self-described hustler and male chauvinist, and began organising exhibition matches that complemented his love of gambling. By 1973, Riggs had turned his attention to women's tennis and began criticising the quality of the players. With media attention growing, he claimed that at age 55 he could still beat any female player, and actively began seeking opponents. Margaret Court, who was the best female player in the world at the time, accepted the challenge and played on Mother's Day 1973. Having easily defeated her 6-2, 6-1 by keeping her off guard with a combination of drop shots and lobs, Riggs sought another female opponent and focused his attention on Billie Jean King. King had previously rebuffed Riggs's challenges, but following Court's defeat, she agreed to play him in a televised match that drew an estimated worldwide audience of 90 million people, known as the Battle of the Sexes, that would deliver $100,000 to the victor. The spectacle was reinforced when King and Riggs entered the Houston Astrodome on a Cleopatra-style litter carried by topless men and a rickshaw pulled by female models, respectively. Early in the match, Riggs broke King's serve, something that she later said made her realise that she had to win the match in order to preserve the image of women's tennis. She went on to win in straight sets, 6-4, 6-3, 6-3, and brought significant attention not only to the sport of women's tennis, but also to sexual equality in general.
He was 55 years old. He was 55 when they played, Greg.
Okay. And how old was she? Well, my point is that women
She was
can be
29. She was
Women
29.
can
He
be
was 55. So
She
I'm
was almost
thinking
30 years old. So women can be just as athletic or more athletic than men. It's not that far fetched. I think that sometimes we overgeneralize things. There's women, put it like this, Chuck. There's thousands of women that at your peak, at your height, when you were playing football as a defensive back, that would have spanked your ass in a 100-meter race, a 200-meter race, a 400-meter race, which is athleticism, and they would have spanked you. And that's just facts. It just is. You can't just generalize and say men are always better athletes and women can't be the best athlete. Because I guarantee you right now, if you did the decathlete against Jackie Joyner-Kersee, you would have got dominated.
Never.
Simple as that.
Never. Should have won one or two. Should have won like one thing, maybe.
You might.
She wouldn't have won any of them, to be honest with you. Cause she didn't run a sub 1100. So that's one thing right there that she wouldn't have been good at. What I'm gonna tell you this.
Flojo would have beat you in 100 meters, the 200 meters, the 400 meters.
Flojo.
He would have beat you in all of them.
Of course, well, anyway, don't let me get to talking about that. But yes,
Point proved.
I'll put it like this. When you compare apples to apples,
you are a professional football player.
Apples to apples. All right.
I'm comparing
one reason I brought this up is because I do feel like Sabrina is somebody we can mention, but when you compare apples to apples, that don't fly.
Man,
Never.
come on, it does fly because those are
does not
athletic
fly.
events. Those are athletic events. You cannot be Flojo.
If you are talking my performance is not even a great high school performance. That's just
but
like
Chuck,
the WNBA.
You made it
okay.
into the NFL. You made it into the NFL, Chuck. That means you are a fantastic athlete.
First down from the 20-yard line. And that's intercepted off the tip by Charles Mincy. Touchdown.
Only less than 1% of 1%.
Was a fantastic football player, but you're talking about sports.
I'm talking about
specific
athletes.
You sports specific,
yeah.
But there's no way in the world that they beat or even compare to somebody.
Athletically, they
don't
better.
Compare to anybody in their field. They don't compare. They don't compare to the top high school boys in their field. They don't. They don't compare to the top high school boys in their field. And don't get me started on that, because you're going to make me bring up the WNBA and y'all going to be mad about it.
Whatever you want.
So
my point is, there's people in the WNBA right now, women who can dunk, and you couldn't. I didn't know you since you was 18, 19 years old. I ain't never seen you dunk a basketball.
You seen me dunk.
I just
knock it
never.
Stop.
I ain't never seen you dunk.
You lying.
I said,
you lying.
I'm not saying you haven't dunked. I'm saying I have never seen you dunk.
You seen me dunk. You seen me dunk in Loyola.
We're not talking about donuts. We're talking about a basketball in a 10-foot hoop. That's all I'm saying. Women can be the greatest athlete on the list, and Serena is on my list. Well, let me ask you guys this question. If there's one person, we all gave some great people. Like you said, there's so many, you can never narrow it down to 5. It's really our favorite 5. Who on your list is someone that you was like, this is the one person on my list you are not taking off. You can't take this one person off. Who would that one person on your list be that you said, regardless, this person ain't coming off? Starting with you, Troy, who's that one person on your list that you would fight for?
I think the one person that I fight for that you just can't take off the list would have to be Bo. I don't think anybody could argue Bo Jackson.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Don? Who's that person? I'm not taking this person off.
Well, because Troy came in there and cut me off, I only said one, and that was Wilt Chamberlain. So he's the one that I would not take take off my list, anyway, because I think he's pound for pound.
Out of your 17 people, who's the one person that you would not take off?
Tiger Woods. Nigga.
I said your list, not my list. I said your list.
Tiger Woods. Not taking Tiger Woods' ass off the list. Yeah. Look, no, for me, it's going to be Jesse Owens. Absolutely. The pressure that he was under, what he had to do, who he lined up against, and what was on the line has got to be Jesse Owens.
Yeah. For me, nostalgically, like I said, is probably Muhammad Ali. But, in these kind of conversations, I always take Muhammad Ali off. And I always say how they always talk about there's an upper room or there's a separate category for people. Muhammad Ali for me is just iconic as a human being. He's just a all world greatest human being of all time type of person to me. So outside of that, when I go back to my list, it's Serena Williams, the greatest athlete I'm gonna fight for every time.
Hey, man, don't get me started, man. Look.
You don't believe that.
Knock it off.
I just want all our ladies out there to know that Chuck Mincy.
That's what it is.
He was
that's why I brought it up. Because we just doing political correctness just to appease people. And I don't care. Look,
I'm not doing
I'm not afraid to be the heel.
I think
I say
I
what
think
it is.
Serena Williams is that type of athlete. I think what she did, she played the game of tennis more athletically than all the others. That's why she was so great. She was fast. She was strong. You know, the things that you equate to athleticism: quick twitch muscle, explosion, strength, power, speed. She did that. She was so far ahead of everybody else. It allowed her to be the greatest to me. But I just want to go on record and say, Chuck, I get it, because I remember when you was a little kid, you used to hang around with these dudes called Our Gang, and you was a president of the He-Man Woman Haters Club, and you still will never let that go. You, Alfalfa, Spanky, Buckwheat, Stymie, and the guys was in the He-Man Woman Hater Club, and you will never let that go.